and welcome to Business Building Business, brought to you live each week by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. The Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is the oldest minority chamber in the country, and we are here to be the advocates for small businesses, whether you're thinking of owning a business, starting a new business, or whether you're established. You can always call on the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. We have a very rich legacy and a rich history here in Chicago, and we want to see that continue, but we need you. We need you as members. We need you as people to just come into the chamber. Our office is located at 1633 South Michigan Avenue, and just give us your business ideas. And we need you in order to help you. And on that note, every week we come here and we bring different people from the community that I'm sure will be of great interest to you, whether they can help you in your business, your personal life. And this year we have a gentleman who has been a businessman in Chicago for years, in Chicago and Boston. And for the last several years, he has changed, from the corporate world, and he is about helping young people in the community. He is a master mentor. He's a mentor that's been around a while. He has mentored several young people, hundreds, in the city of Chicago, mostly in our schools. And welcome. And our guest name is Willie Jones. And Mr. Jones is going to share, his vision, what he's doing in the community. And please, this is an interactive show. The number is at the bottom of your screen, 312-738-1060. Call in, pick Mr. Jones' brain, ask questions about what he's doing. Welcome, Willie.
Thank you, Ron. It's good to be here.
Thank you. And we're just going to get right into it and talk about what you've been doing and your vision, your commitment to the city of Chicago. And, first of all, some people may not know what mentoring is. Exactly what is it?
Well, mentoring is assisting people, right? Okay. The long and short of it. It's not a new concept. It's one that has grown new legs in our society the last few years, but mentoring has been something that has happened in the business world forever. In law firms where you get young people come in and they junior partner or something comes to assist them to help them develop their path with the company and the firm. And most professional organizations, that happens. So mentoring has been around a long time. In fact, the definition is just basically someone who teaches or gives help or advice to someone to further their path. And so with when I was growing up and was in younger days, mentoring involved our baseball coaches.
Sure.
Our Boy Scout and Cub Scout leaders were the mentors of our neighborhood. The newspaper stand owner. And I was pretty much involved with most of them, as a kid. But today, we live in a quite different society.
Sure.
We, as you all know, we live in a world that a lot of households, these young people don't have fathers in the household and don't have male figures and role models that are positive that will help them to encourage them and empower them. And so over 20 years ago, it just kind of came to me, through success, there is also failure. And a guy by the name of W. Clement Stone, who went bankrupt 7 times or 8 times and got up 9 times.
Wow.
And made us understand that it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And that things in life are going to take you down and you got to get up. And so I would mention to our guys who played football with me and baseball and basketball and worked in business that, our generation and the baby boomers here, we were the last generation of men raised by men. And so if we don't help our young men, then who's going to do it? We got to stop talking about the pants sagging and talking about all of the negative things that we find and bring to them some understanding of how does one handle conflict. Because with all of these murders and things we're having, conflict resolution is a big part of it.
Absolutely.
That's lacking. So how do you resolve conflict?
And so, you know, what inspires you to do this? Why do you have this commitment to mentor? Because I know you're mentoring in several places, several schools mostly. And so what is driving you inside to do this?
Well, first of all, I was always a team player. On all my teams, I was a team player. I was a guy that would make sacrifices for us to win. And so subsequently, as I looked around our community, and I saw things that were distasteful. I saw where we were kind of going backwards, and that our grandparents and our great-grandparents and many of our ancestors would be rolling over in their graves at some of the things that were happening, how we had misused the concepts that had led to us getting ahead, if you will. So therefore, it was how do we bring about some new measures? How do we reach out and grab particularly these young men who seemingly were going wayward? And so with the conversation at that time that I had with my then pastor, who later became Bishop Nathaniel Jarrett of the AME Zion Church, and he and I talked about a program that would do just that, help to reach out to young men. And so we started a program at Martin Temple back in '94 called Building African American Christian Men. That's where we started. And we went to McCosh Elementary School. We started working with them over there with Real Men Read. Started developing young men that started coming to our church and join our program. And we learned how to just entrust. They learned to entrust us. And through time and through organization and through working.
So what do you do to get through to the young people?
It takes time, first of all. You have to, the one thing you do that they're not expecting you to do is be consistent.
Exactly.
You have to show them better than you can tell them. So week after week, we're there. We used to meet on Saturdays, every Saturday. And my wife would tell you, I leave home 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. But we taught them responsibility. We taught them values. We made all of our money that ran our program through washing cars and detailing cars.
Okay, no corporate donations and grants and all that.
None of that. We had a $10,000 donation that came from one of the guys who worked with us when he died. His wife gave us $10,000. We bought all of our equipment with that.
And what equipment do you need?
Well, we needed vacuums.
Okay.
We needed continuous products and all of that. And not only that, we also then got to go to a lot of events, because exposure is a key thing with the young people. And so we took them. Many of them had never been out the neighborhood. And we took them all kinds of places. They got involved in all kinds of situations. So positive situations.
Right.
Oh yeah. And they also had opportunities to come to understand how do you resolve conflict. We used to have a little room, and when guys got in fights, we would stop them from fighting and take the two who wanted to fight into the little room. We had boxing gloves and headgear and all of that. And so they would come in and they would get to fight as long as they wanted to.
Just fight it out.
But you know what? Fights never lasted long because it's always about the show. It's not about the fight.
Okay.
So when we remove the show, it's another story.
So what is it with the guns then? I mean, do you ever talk to the young men about how guns make them feel? Does it make them feel more empowered? Does it make them feel like men?
Again, one of the major problems today is conflict resolution. And we live in a society where these young men were raised more often than not with video games,
Violent video.
violence, yeah, with violence all around them, and subsequently, that's how they recognize handling conflicts, and so it's only through gaining their trust, showing them that you care, encouraging them to understand that they're better than that, helping them to develop life skills that help them to understand that life is so much more, and you don't have the right to take another person's life because you can't give life. So, through many of the activities that we get involved in, sports is a big part of it.
Sure.
There's an organization called the Concerned Christian Men, and they have breakfasts monthly at Simeon High School, and they present a lot of programs to youngsters, and they have hundreds and hundreds of youngsters that participate. I participated in that program for years, and our kids got great value from it, as they still do today. There are a lot of programs that are out here. We just have to be more involved, and we have to have more of our men involved.
As the mentors.
Because they need us. Yeah,
Sure.
they need us.
Okay, so I'm sure we have some moms and dads, watching us and saying, my son might be, headed down the wrong path. How do they get involved? How do we find a mentor help them find a mentor or find a program?
Generally, most churches,
Okay.
or many churches have programs. The Black Star Project is an outstanding program that Philip Jackson runs. They deal with youth of all ages. They also have tremendous resources, and having resources is another thing that's important, because you got to be able to guide them to certain professional situations that may be needed and is not available to them. So Black Star is an excellent place to begin. Our church, Quinn Chapel AME Church, has a program. We are now involved. We started a program at NTA School.
Okay.
And it's a takeoff of Real Men Read. And we have found, we started it because we felt the need to get them younger and younger.
Exactly.
When I was at Paul Revere, and I was there for
That's an elementary
school.
Right?
I was at Paul Revere, which was where I graduated from,
Okay.
for a number of years. And we worked with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, trying to position them in such a way that they changed their attitude about school, got prepared for high school, took them to high schools that would provide formalized training to give them opportunities to let them know what they needed to look forward to. But we started finding that we weren't reaching enough. The streets were still outreaching us.
Exactly.
And so when we got at Quinn and we thought about what we could do, and we thought about, well, why don't we develop a reading program? And let's start it with the youngest of them. And if we can get the school to go along with us with this program, we'll start with the pre-K, the K, the first and second grade kids. Because if we can encourage them to read by them seeing that Black men are coming to read to them in their school, and we can help them to get a better grasp on reading at an early age, then we won't have to worry about trying to turn so many of them around.
Absolutely.
At an older age. Okay?
And because statistics, studies have shown that the students that are more prone to violence, to dropping out, are those that are poor readers.
That's correct.
It's a correlation.
No question.
Studies have shown that, and you're so right, and that's why it's important for money to also be given to early childhood programs.
That's
because
correct.
the earlier you start,
That's correct.
the more impact you can have, and hopefully turn that life around. So tell us about some of your successful, do you still see any of your mentees, and what kind of men have they turned out to be? What are they doing with their lives?
I see a number of them, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of
Right.
those. We don't have as much contact as we would like. Many of them have moved away. You know, we have a real transit type world today.
Sure.
And so, but we have several that are here that I talk to on a regular basis that are working. Some in graduate school. We got several that are still in undergraduate school, and some that are teaching. And we got some.
So they're college
Oh
bound.
yeah,
These
we
are
college
young men
bound.
that have gone to college, or
And some that have graduated from college, and some that didn't make it. You know,
Sure.
that didn't make it, that took another path. But because of some of the things, hopefully, that they learned in the years that they shared with us, because many of them stayed with us beyond elementary school and high school, and they come
Okay.
back, and I see them. I live in the neighborhood, and I see them all the time. Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones.
Oh,
They
that's
come back.
beautiful.
We've had some that would come up to the program and actually come and talk to the kids.
Oh,
you know, I've had those that come and say, "I wish I would have listened to you when you were talking to me about going to high school and going in and learning more than one language besides English, that I would make myself indispensable in this
Exactly.
world
Right.
if I didn't have anything technical that I did, but I learned 2 languages besides
That's
English."
foreign languages.
Okay? I mean, we in this global world.
Mm-hmm.
And they understand about voting and why voting is important, because things like civics that were taken out of the school,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we try to teach them. We try to teach them how to write so that they can develop better writing skills,
For sure.
because you never know. And so, like I said, we're thankful for the ones that we have reached. We have never reached as many as we would like to reach, but to God be the glory as we just continue to try to do
on.
His work.
Exactly. Well, in your experience, can you speak to the ones that have been successful and family involvement? How do you bring the families in, or do families come and to your programs just to see what their young men are doing? How do you feel about family involvement?
Most of the time, we go directly to try and greet the families and have them to get to know us.
Sure.
Help them to understand that we are here to try to be of assistance to the young men. One of our objectives, is to try to deliver a better student to the teachers. Our teachers have a hard time when they're dealing with generation after generation after generation of people who have not been the most enamored with education.
Exactly.
And so,
and they're dealing with social issues.
Social
they're dealing
issues.
with everything but education.
everything but education. So, in our working with them, one of the objectives is to try to deliver a better student. Because if they can get a better sense of self, if they can see themselves being successful, if they can see themselves gaining opportunities in life, then what they'll do is become better students.
Absolutely.
Because they recognize, we tell them all the time, you have to use education for your benefit. Don't get used in the system. And by that I simply mean if you recognize early on in life what you would like to do with your life, then school becomes just a matter of the tools necessary to help you get there. There's a young man who's an architect out here that does business, that's one of the contractors with inner city and community insurance. And Mr. Reed is an architect. And I asked him one day when he came to talk to our kids, I said, "So tell me, man, how did you know you wanted to become an architect?" He said, "When I was 7 years old, my parents bought me some Taka toys. And from that, they saw that I really liked them, and so they got me an advanced set. And then I got the most elite set. And then I found there was some other things that I could pipe into. And now I was excited about being an architect.
They nurtured that interest.
They nurtured
Yeah.
the interest. And now, and then math became easy because it was a tool that I have to have. I have to know these angles in order to build these buildings, you know. And so he said, nobody had ever asked me that before.
Wow.
Okay? And so we try to bring those kind of people before our kids so that they can see that this is possible. And this guy's built hundreds and hundreds of homes.
Well, Mr. Jones, how many years have you been mentoring?
Over 20.
Over 20.
Yeah,
So
over 20.
what drives you? You know, when you wake up, with, like you said, you leave your wife at 7 in the morning to, you know, go to schools or, you know, go to church or different programs. What is it that drives you to do this for people you don't even know? And what do you get out of it?
You get satisfaction. You get satisfaction. You get there's grief that comes with it because sometimes your phone rings with tragedy. But more often than not, it's how can you help? Can you help me? Do you know somebody that can do this, Mr. Jones? Do you know somebody that can do this? Are we going such and such a place? Are we going, you know? What drives me is that they did it for me, starting from my father, who went to work and worked hard each and every day, along with my mother. They worked as a unit. A lot of these kids don't have units. So they worked as a unit. And because of how they worked, they didn't have a lot of time to be involved in a lot of my activities. And so they trusted. They trusted me because I just was driven. And so subsequently, there was not just my father. It was Mr. Askew. It was Mr. Rucker. It was Mr. Lewis. It was all of these people who were the village that were just going through life. And I worked at the newspaper stand. I played Little League baseball. I got to hang out with the kings and the queens by day and the pimps and the rest by night. And so that opportunity to grow, that opportunity to fail, you know, there were things in my life that I wanted to achieve. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. Some of them got cut short. But the reality is, as I said before, that the object is to get up.
Exactly.
And so helping these young men to understand that, and each one of them that becomes a success, it's like an ego thing.
I
you
did
know,
it.
yeah, I helped.
Yeah.
I helped.
Oh,
I
for
didn't.
you,
Yes,
right.
because it's always about the team.
For sure.
So if we can by that restore the parents, and oftentimes, you know, we've gone through a lot of changes with this mentoring thing and how to do it. You ask how to do it. Do you go get the parents? Sometimes you get so frustrated with the parents that you say, forget them. We just got to get the kids.
Exactly.
And if we can motivate enough of the kids then they'll go on and then they'll bring the parents. So there's no one way to do it. There's just get involved.
Exactly.
From the men's side and the women's side, more today than any time. Our young ladies really need help. So we need women. We need these sisters who have gone through life and been successful, and some not successful, going through many marriages and all of that, and relationships that are not stable. You know, when you find somebody that wants to help your kids. Find an organization that want to help your kids, and then sacrifice. Because sometimes we don't want to sacrifice. It's all about us.
Because you don't get paid for any of this.
I don't get paid for any of this. I don't get paid for any of this. When we used to get stipends at Paul Revere, and we bought TVs and things for the kids. But mostly it involved being able to give them exposure. Because exposure is the name of the game.
When they know there's something else.
There's something
different out there.
There's something out
sure.
there. And can find themselves. You know, we got kids who have tremendous talents with their hands. They need to be contractors. They need to be planning. We used to have schools.
Exactly.
Technical schools, trade
technical
schools. Yeah. We don't have that as much as we used to.
For sure, for sure.
But we got to do more.
Thank you. Well, this has been a great conversation. As you can see, Mr. Jones is very passionate about what he does. So let's all heed that call. Get out there, get involved, help the young people in your community. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones.
Thank you,
And thank you for tuning in to Business Building Business, brought to you by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. We'll see you next week. Thank you.